Yo guys, welcome back to another video, and as you guys can tell by the title, yes, I'm going to be reading, well, I've already read, I'm going to be reviewing the full series of Chainsaw Man. Chainsaw Man Part 1, of course. I actually binge read yesterday and was able to finish it before I go on vacation tomorrow. So I'm here to give you guys the review, tell you guys my thoughts, because oh boy, do I have some thoughts. Chainsaw Man was freaking insane. So, without further ado, let's talk about it. So I guess I'll start by giving just a little bit of a synopsis of Chainsaw Man. So Chainsaw Man follows a boy named Denji, and his father is had some deals with the Yakuza, or the Japanese mafia. He owed them a lot of money, and he went and killed himself. So all of that debt fell onto Denji's shoulders, and he was sort of forced to work to do everything he could to pay off this debt that his father owed. But he ends up meeting this little dog devil named Pochita, who's like a chainsaw, and so he uses Pochita. They make a contract and they live with each other, and he uses this devil to fight other devils. And you know, once he kills these devils, they're like bounties pretty much. So he slowly works to pay off his father's debt, and then over time, you know, he's pretty close to paying it off, and then the Yakuza just decides to kill him. And so Denji is dead and Pochita is dying. So Pochita, in a last-ditch effort to keep Denji alive, decides to become his heart and like fuse with his heart. And when he does that, Denji becomes the Chainsaw Man. He fuses powers with Pochita, grows chainsaw blades out of his arms, and his head becomes a chainsaw, and he's able to rip through devils and exact revenge, I guess, on the Yakuza. But after he does that, he has nowhere to go, and he ends up stumbling across a woman named Makima, who is part of like a what they call the public safety devils, like devil public safety divisions, and she sort of takes him in, says, you know, either you can join me and work for me, or I'll kill you right here, to dispose of a devil. And so he joins her, and through joining the public safety, where they, you know, go out and eliminate dangerous devils, him being a devil himself, and being part of like an experimental group, he meets friends and they go on adventures, I guess, missions, and everything sort of happens from there. I suppose just for some context, before Denji joins the public safety unit and, you know, the devil exterminators or whatever, he lived in extreme poverty. He didn't have any family, so he paid rent, for overpriced rent for like a rundown shack, basically a shed, and that's what he lived out of. His only friend was Pochita, this little dog, and he was forced to like sell one of his eyeballs, even one of his nuts, just to try and pay off this debt. And so he never really knew happiness or you know, anything, you know, basically he didn't even have the basic necessities that every human should have. You know, he ate out of the garbage, you know, that's where he got his food. He would eat barf pretty much. Like, he was just so poor and lonely. So when he joins the public safety, basically they offer him, you know, a place to stay. They give him 3 meals a day, clothes, and so he's just blown away and thinks that this entire thing, even though he's basically, it's like forced servitude, he thinks it's like paradise because he's never been treated this way before, and you know, he's treated to so many things that he's never been treated to before, even though it's only the basic necessities. And it's through this that we really start to see get a good feel for the character of two different characters, being Denji and Makima. Firstly, with Denji, we start to see, as the main character, we spend the most time with him, and he grows a lot over the course of the story. But we start to see that, he takes pleasure in the simple things in life, and that sort of puts stuff into perspective, and is, I'd say, one of the main themes of the story is that, to these people who that don't have a lot, I feel like, a lot of times people who have more than others, even me, like, I'll be the first to admit that there's a lot of things that I probably take for granted, but there are so many people who are in this extreme poverty and don't know what that's like whatsoever, first world problems, and they're dealing with, they don't know when they're gonna have their next meal. And so Denji, being exposed to all of this for the first time, everybody thinks he's kind of a weirdo for taking so much joy in this, but really, he takes pleasure in just the simple things. The second character that's sort of getting built up is Makima herself. Now, I'm not going to give away too much just yet, but Makima is a very crucial character in the entire story, and sort of, I'd say the whole story centers around her relationship with Denji, and that, all comes together full circle at the very end, and it's beautifully written, I will say, but I don't want to give away too much just yet. This is a spoiler review, so I will be talking about it because it plays a massive role in the ending of the story, but I'm just not there yet. So, but Makima, we start to see, she can, her ability to sort of control Denji. She takes advantage of him, pretty much, and promises him things, if he can just do work for her. He's sort of expendable. He's capable, and because, he's put in that spot in life, you can throw him a bone, I guess, give him barely anything, and he'll be happy with it, and he'll go to great extents to get stuff done for very little in return. So she takes advantage of that quite often, and we see that throughout the story, and we start to get a grasp on how Makima is able to control people. The whole story sort of kicks off when we learn of a certain devil called the Gun Devil. And I guess before I continue, I should explain exactly how devils work. So if you've ever read or watched Jujutsu Kaisen, it works a similar way to curses. Basically, if there are things that people fear and there's mass hysteria around, and just, things like, for example, guns, a lot of people fear guns. There's, shootings, and, they have a lot of fear surrounding them. And so the more fear that surrounds a certain concept or item of sorts, it allows the fear to manifest physically in the human realm in the form of a devil. So Chainsaw Man, the fear of chainsaws, like, for whatever reason, like, Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, people will watch that and be like, oh, chainsaws are freaking terrifying, and then, the fear gives the devil enough power to manifest physically, if that makes sense. And that's sort of how Denji got so much power, I guess. How Pochita was able to manifest physically is because of the fear surrounding chainsaws. And the more fear there is surrounding a certain thing, the more powerful that devil will become. So the Gun Devil, because there was so much fear surrounding guns, manifested and became probably the most powerful devil. And there was an attack on Earth that lasted maybe a few seconds and wiped out millions and millions of civilians and innocent people all over the world in a matter of seconds. That's how powerful this gun devil is, and so that incident created even more fear of guns and just made it increasingly powerful. But the thing is, this gun devil just disappeared. And so now the whole story is they have to hunt down this gun devil and kill it. But, you know, we see throughout the story how the gun devil has affected the lives of many other people. You know, it killed so many, you know, people's loved ones. It destroyed their homes. In the case of our second main character, or sort of like a deuteragonist, if you will, Aki Hayakawa, who is in charge of taking care of Denji, and at first is sort of like a dark and brooding sort of character. Kind of reminds me of Sasuke from Naruto a bit, but we learn that, you know, he is the way he is. He's hyper-focused on going out to kill the gun devil to get revenge, because during that incident when he was a child, it killed his entire family. So he wants to get revenge, you know, to avenge his family. And in that way also, you know, kind of reminds me a lot of Sasuke. Over the course of the story, though, Aki goes through some major character development and becomes a genuinely likable character who cares about his comrades, his friends, and, you know, isn't a douche the entire time like he was in the beginning. Because first he has a very rocky start with Denji, because let's face it, Denji is, you know, hard to handle, especially when paired with another character who I'll get to in a minute. And also Hayakawa, or Aki, has all this hate built up towards just devils in general, so he sees Denji as, you know, less than human, because, you know, he is a hybrid, he's part devil now, so, but over time, you know, they grow a strong bond. Again, sort of like a Naruto and Sasuke sort of thing, which that definitely reminds me of. We're also introduced to a character named Power, who is the Blood Fiend, and now I guess while I'm at it, I'll explain how fiends work. Basically, devils have the power to take over corpses, so if there's a dead body, a devil can take over the human body and control it, but when they do that, their devil powers are slightly weakened, and but when they're taking over the body of a dead human, then they become a fiend. So there, I guess some of the benefits of that is they're able to blend in with society. So anyway, we have the Blood Fiend named Power, who's just a bombastic, pathological liar, you know, who just wants the death of humanity. But over time, you know, she's a funny character, but she also tries to kill Denji when we first meet her. But, you know, Denji ends up saving the day and forgiving her and rescuing her cat. It's a whole thing, but she turns out to be one of the best characters towards the end of the story. Again, I'll get to the end, because the end is just, the last like 3 volumes are just chaotic. And also, I might even talk about some theories surrounding chaos, which also sort of plays an important role towards the end. There's a lot of ideas surrounding the story. Anyway, yeah, Power's an interesting character. She has the ability to like control blood, and like almost like bloodbenders from Avatar: The Last Airbender, sort of, not really, kinda, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but she can like draw blood and turn it into like a physical weapon. It's really awesome. The trio is sort of forced to live together and go on missions together, and it creates a really funny and endearing dynamic between the characters. Denji and Power are always getting into fights and squabbles because they're both, you know, kind of dumb, And then Aki is just like the real one, you know, he's just like trying to tell them both to shut up and just like figure it out, you know. And it really creates, over time they build a strong, almost familial bond with each other, you know. They've spent so much time together, and they've put their lives on the line for each other, so it's really cool. You can see that progression throughout the story. One of the first big missions that they go on, we were introduced to a character named Himeno, who is one of my personal favorite characters. You know, she sort of, in a weird way, reminds me of Kakashi from Naruto. And maybe it's just the eye patch, you know, like the eye covering, I don't know, but she's very chill, and I don't know, just sort of reminds me, gives me that sort of chill mentor feel that Kakashi does. I don't know, maybe that's just me, or, you know, maybe now that my mind is thinking of it like parallels between this and Naruto, I'm just finding everything, I don't know, but that's just what it reminds me of. Anyway, Himeno is Aki's partner, I guess. They worked together for a long time. Come to find out, Himeno actually has a big crush on Aki, but Aki is also sort of infatuated with Makima for whatever reason. I'll get to that in a little bit. But Denji is also obsessed with Makima, so, you know, they kind of don't see eye to eye with that, I guess, because they're both trying to go after her. But in this arc, I guess, I'm not sure what the arcs in this series are called, because I just kind of read it all the way through, wasn't really keeping track. They're trapped inside of a hotel room, where, you know, they're trapped inside of a hotel where they can only stay on the 8th floor. If they go down the stairs, they just come down the stairs from the 9th floor and end up back on the 8th floor. If they hop out the window, they'll just end up in the window of another room on the same floor. Like, it's like some trippy Inception type crap, but no matter what they do, they can't leave. You know, they tried to escape through like the ceiling tiles, and they just came out the ceiling of another floor, or not floor, but like the ceiling of another room on the 8th floor. Like, there's no way to escape. And the only way Denji found out, you know, he is insane, and he managed to escape by jumping into this devil who was causing this, who was hiding its core. It couldn't be killed without its core being destroyed. And for like 2 straight days, Denji just fought this thing. You know, using his chainsaws, there is a downside to it, where, you know, the chainsaws are coming out of his arm, and it's ripping him open as well while he's using them. So he loses a lot of blood, and the source of power for, devils is blood. So they have to consume blood to be able to regenerate and all that. So if Denji uses his chainsaws for too long, he'll lose a lot of blood and then not be able to use them anymore because his blades will like retract. But he's just ripping into this devil and consuming its blood. So he creates what they call like a, what's the term? He essentially creates what they call a perpetual motion machine, where he can't, you know, there's no way to stop him. It basically goes on for infinity, where he loses blood while he's ripping into this devil, demon, whatever, and he consumes blood, so it regenerates him so that he can continue to rip into it. So it's like a never-ending cycle. And this devil, you know, that he's fighting can't die. So he's basically forcing it, giving it, but it feels pain. So he's forcing it to essentially kill itself by being like, okay, I give up, you know, quit causing me all this pain. Here's my core, just finish it. So after just 2 straight days of just ripping into it, it eventually, you know, shows its core. He cuts it in half or whatever, and then they're able to escape. After this arc, though, we see how much Himeno actually cares about Aki. So we get a little bit of her backstory. She's had partners in the past, and all of her partners have just died. And Aki has been her partner that has lasted the longest, and also she has like a crush on him. So together, you know, they're a good duo, and she just doesn't want to see another one of her partners die. And she actually gets Denji's help to, like, you know, Himeno's gonna help him get with Makima if she helps, or if he helps her get with Aki. And they also sort of become friends. Also, her character sort of exposes, I guess, an issue that a lot of people have with the series, which I personally don't have with the series, and that's that when a character is introduced and you like they start to go into their backstory and you feel for them just for them to be cut off. Yes, Himeno dies here in the next arc. She is killed. She's like shot and killed by a bad guy, which I'll get to in a minute. Yeah, so a lot of people have a problem with a character being introduced just for them to die, and I don't see that at all. I think that every character that's introduced pretty much has a proper amount of but page time for the role that they play in the story. There are some characters, I will say, that maybe could use a little bit more page time, like characters who aren't introduced yet in the story, but you know, Himeno, she was there for just long enough that you start to really care about her character, and a lot of people really like her, and then she's cut off, she's killed. But her point of her character is more so a driving factor for Aki, and I guess she was always like that from the beginning. You know, they had to spend some time to humanize her and make you feel for her, and in turn feel for Aki when she dies. And that's sort of the whole point of her character, so I don't think that her dying was really just for nothing, or just, you know, she was just thrown away. You know, there was a point, and I think she, you know, she was on the page just long enough for it to actually mean something. So how exactly does she die? Well, this next arc, I guess, is one of the coolest fights in Chainsaw Man. It has one of the best moments, and the volume 5, which part of this takes place in, is probably my favorite manga cover of all time. It's just fantastic. I've had it as my profile pic before. It's very good. I'm just gonna say that. Anyway, basically what happens is everybody, all the special division is targeted by the Yakuza, and, you know, Makima is just on a train, and she just gets shot in the back of the head, or not in the back of the head, but like her and her partner are just lit up on the train. How these people have guns, when guns are outlawed after the event of the Gun Devil, that we'll get into that in a minute too. But like people, like agents, will just be walking down the street, and then random people will just start opening fire and just lighting up these agents, and it's happening simultaneously at all these different locations. So Himeno and Aki and Denji are just at this, like, I forget exactly where they are. It might be a restaurant or something. And then people walk in, or there's a dude that walks in who is actually the grandson of the Yakuza dude that Denji killed, because, you know, he was exploiting him with all the dead stuff. Basically, this dude's grandson is in cahoots with this snake devil user lady, and the Gun Devil. So he has this power very similar to Denji's, him being the Katana Devil, and this sort of explores the idea of hybrid devils, which are, you know, like Denji, are humans that look similar to him and have, you know, some sort of, I don't know how to explain it. There's like the weapon devils. So we see the bomb devil, the flamethrower devil. There's the arrow devil. There's a bunch of the spear devil. What was another one? I can't remember. I think the knife devil or whatever. So there's a bunch of different ones that we see throughout the series. And the katana devil is like the first one that's introduced other than Denji. And so they're all kind of blown away by it. Like, oh, you know, there's more people like Denji out there. And they end up having a dope fight. It's really cool. They end up actually getting kind of clapped, I will say. Turns out that all of these devils are after Denji's heart, Pochita. We don't exactly know why. Obviously, the Chainsaw Devil is pretty powerful, but at this point in the story, we don't actually know why. Denji almost gets captured, but they fail, and what ends up happening is the Snake Devil chick and Katana Devil man, they get out of there. They have to run away, and we're left with Himeno being dead. Aki is in serious condition, and Denji, you know, got wrecked. There's a lot going on. But also, on the flip side, we see Makima. She just got lit up, and then, you know, we turn away and we expect her to be dead, and then she gets back up and just slaughters everybody on that train. Well, not everybody, but like the bad guys. And so this also builds mystery around what exactly is Makima. Like, what is her power? What can she do? So she gets off the train, and she tells these two agents, you know, hey, go round up some life sentence prisoners, some death row people. What I'm gonna do is, you know, do something. And so she takes them to like this mountaintop, and she blindfolds them. And she's sacrificing these death row inmates. She makes them say a person's name, and then she offs them. And then the person whose name they said gets killed. So she's sacrificing these prisoners to, like, take the life of another. So she just starts wiping out people. And we don't really know how she's doing it, what devil she has a contract with, what exactly is happening. But she is just murking fools. When all is said and done, Aki is grieving the death of Himeno while being in the hospital. Denji and Power are actually about to have a bit of a training arc. Makima needs them to be more powerful, so she gives them to this one dude who's he's one of my favorite characters, but I can't for the life of me remember his name. But he's like a master training dude, I guess. We've actually seen him before. I think he was the mentor for Himeno also. So, you know, he's pretty renowned. And he just kills Denji and Power over and over again, and then just feeds them blood to, like, revive them. And they have to try and figure out a way to take him down, which they never do by the end of this little training arc. But they become skilled enough to... you know, day after day after day, just trying to kill this dude. They become skilled enough for him to be like, all right, you're pretty ready. But also Aki has to do a bit of a training himself, but not in the same way. He has to, in order for him to still be on this squad, you know, they're going after the gun devil, and he proved that he wasn't even powerful enough to take out some other people or save Himeno. He needs to be more powerful if he's going to be on this squad. So he has to make a contract with a new devil, and that is the Future Devil, which is like this giant, like, almost reminds me of the new mob from Minecraft. I forget what it's called, but I'll throw a picture up on screen. That's basically what it looks like. And, you know, he just, the contract is that this devil will live inside of his eyeball, and it can see, it gives him the power to see a few seconds into the future, and sometimes he just gets, like, random visions of the future, and that's his whole power, which is pretty useful, because, like, it allows him to sort of predict enemy movements and like close fights and stuff. It's actually a super dope ability. I forgot to mention though that one of Aki's abilities is his sword. The sword that he uses, if he uses it, you know, he pokes somebody like 3 times, I think, and then they die. Or cuts them like 3 times or something like that. But the condition is that when he does that, it cuts down on Aki's lifespan. And at this point in the story, we know that he only has like, I want to say, less than 5 years to live before, you know, the curse takes place. Now that they've all been trained up, they're ready to go. They're gonna have an assault on this building where the Yakuza is hiding, where the Snake Devil Lady is hiding, and Katana Man. But also there's like an army of zombies from the Zombie Devil that are hiding, that we actually see in the first volume, because one of the whole reasons why the Yakuza dude was going to kill Denji in the first place, in the first volume, is because the Yakuza made a contract with the Zombie Devil, and the Zombie Devil was after Denji, so that was the whole thing. You know, everybody there. Denji, in his like opening sequence, when he first turns into the Chainsaw Man, is just destroying a bunch of Yakuza zombies. And so we see more zombies show up here, and they're just holding them in the basement of this like building. And so we see also see the rest of the special division, which includes another fiend, which is the Shark Fiend, named Beam, who is one of the best characters, honestly. He's a straight up bro. For whatever reason, he just loves Denji and calls him Lord Chainsaw, and he's just a straight up bro. He's ride or die, literally, which I'll get to in a little bit when we talk about volume 6. He's literally ride or die. Anyway, we see like the Spider Devil, the Violence Fiend or whatever. Yeah, and they're all just working together. The Angel Devil, also, who plays a pretty important role. We see all these new characters, and they go and assault this building. To be honest, this video is getting really long, getting to that point, and you know, we're about at the halfway point. So I think I'm gonna make this video and then make a part 2 that will be coming very soon. Like once I post this, I'm gonna be working on the part 2 as I'm, you know, uploading this, and then I'll upload that too. But yeah, this video is getting really long, and I just want to probably make it a separate part, and then the next part I'll talk more about the ending and just the latter half of the series, because it starts to get really insane and probably deserves its own video. So stay tuned for that. You know, like I said, it'll be coming very, very soon. I hope you guys enjoyed the video though. I've been waiting on doing this Chainsaw Man review for so long, and I'm so happy to finally get to it. You know, finished reading the whole series last night. It was tons of fun. But yeah, I'll finish the review soon, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace.